What's going on, YouTube family? Welcome back to rebirthedu.com. I'm your host, Kendrick, aka Also the Great. We're back with the next installment of the Cashflow Quadrants by Robert Kiyosaki. Right now we're on chapter 5, and we're talking about the 5 types of investors. So we're going to go through this relatively quick so we can get to the differences between a couple of them and why you should be the latter, right? So, but before we do, as always, hit like, hit subscribe, share with your friends, help out the algorithm, right? So let's just run through it real quick, man. So the first type of investor is the non-investor, right? So this is the person that they make money and they spend it. They're not putting their money anywhere that's going to work for them at all, right? A lot of y'all fall into this category, just statistically. That's just the reality of it, right? So number 2 is the saver, and that's the person who just kind of saves money in a savings account, and it's not really collecting enough interest to beat the rate of inflation. And this is why savers are losers. Okay, if you're just saving your money, you're not going to beat the rate of inflation at all. If you're sitting in a bank account, you're probably getting a fraction of a percent in interest yearly on that account, and it's not going to keep up with inflation. If you guys haven't checked out, Google it yourself. The rate of inflation right now is about 5%, which is outrageous. Typically, it's usually between 1 and 2% a year. Right now, it's astronomical, and it's gone up over the last couple of months. 5% is crazy. So that means if you're not putting your money somewhere where you're not at least getting 5% interest on your money, you're not making anything. You're losing money. You're putting your money in the bank and it's slowly just fizzling away, right? So that's why savers are losers. Don't save your money, invest your money. So the third one, a lot of you guys are going to fall into this category. If you guys have employment and you've been there for a long time, you most definitely probably fall in this category. And this is the I'm too busy investor, right? Too busy for what, you might ask? I'm too busy to learn, so I get somebody else to do it for me, right? So these are your 401k guys, right? Now, I'm not saying don't utilize your 401k. I'm not saying that at all, because a lot of times you can get some 401ks that do bring you a pretty decent amount of money, but it also depends on where the market is. Okay, I've seen, for instance, I've seen my 401k split in half and then it's gone back up. But the fact is, I've seen it go down dramatically for a few months, man. Now think about it. What if that would have been my time to retire, and that would have been time for me to pull that money out? Ooh, that'd hurt. That would suck to get all the way to the end and then lose half your money, right? Some format. Now, that's not necessarily how it works, but you should keep in mind on things like those, you don't necessarily have insurance on those. But that's another story for another day. The basis behind this one is that you don't take the time to learn about your money and get financially educated, right? And so you're depending on others to do the investing for you because you're not going to take the time out to do it yourself, right? This is not a safe category to be in because you're going to be trusting others to take care of your future. And that's usually not what you want to do, especially if you're like me and you want to have some kind of control over your life and some kind of financial freedom, right? And security. It's really hard to do that if you're letting somebody else taking care of your money and they're making money off of you. Okay? So the fourth one. Now this one's a good one. It's called the I'm a professional, right? Or the do-it-yourselfer. This is the person who decided, I'm going to take this into my own hands. I'm going to do all this myself. I'm going to invest my money myself. And I'm a self, and I'm a self, and I'm self, right? That's what this person is all about. Not to say there's anything wrong with this one, but it's pretty lonely, right? And all of this, everything kind of falls on you. If you're successful, it's because of you. If you're not, it's also because of you, right? So these are the person that have taken it upon themselves to learn about this. They don't want to pay anybody to help them. They don't want to depend on nobody else. They want to take care of this stuff themselves. Again, it's not necessarily a bad category, but it's really hard to, so at some junctures, avoid risk, right? Because you're going to be investing your own money, right? And that leads me on to the next one, which is the capitalist, right? The capitalist is a monster. That's a person from the B quadrant transitioning to the I quadrant, right? The kicker about these guys is they don't use their own money. They use OPM, right? That's what Robert Kiyosaki calls it. If you're familiar with the OPP song, it's the same concept, except it's not a P at the end, it's an M. They use other people's money, and they use this money to invest and make a whole lot of other people rich, right? So 4 and 5 is pretty much where you want to be. There's differences to both. One is really hard, one is not so hard. However, it is difficult to get to the one that's easy, right? So let's look at the difference. A number 4, that will be pretty much the S quadrant, and a number 5 will probably be the I quadrant, or the B to I quadrant. So number 4, they use their own money, whereas a 5 uses other people's money, like we said. Number 4, you're solo dolo, all by yourself, right? However, the number 5, they invest with a team. They're not necessarily the smartest person in the room, but they have put a team together of people to invest, and they make smart decisions to help everybody make more money, right? The number 4, they earn less money typically, right? Whereas the 5s earn more. The 4s pay more in taxes, right? Because they don't have a team helping them out with the tax codes and all that other stuff to make smarter investments. Whereas the 5s, obviously, they pay less in taxes. The 4s are selfish. We talked about that. But the 5s are generous, okay? They know the more money they help make other people make, the more money they're going to make as well. Okay, it's all about sharing this wealth. Believe you me, they're not, these super wealthy people are not selfish, not like you think. Okay, and with the number 4s, it's really hard to raise money and raise capital, where with the 5s, it's really easy. It's actually extremely easy, because once you build a B and a big business in the B quadrant, like we said, these are guys transitioning from the B to the I. Once a business goes public, right? It's really, you start selling shares, and it's really easy to just rake that money in so you can invest it and get turnarounds on your money, right? So that's pretty much it with the 5 types of investors. Obviously, you want to be in the 4 or the 5s. You don't want to be in the 3s, man, because you don't sacrifice, the comfort and the ease of letting somebody else do that. Just take it upon yourself, get financially educated, and learn how to invest yourself. It doesn't take too much time, it does take a little bit of effort. But once you learn about what you're doing and you understand where your money is going, you could essentially put it on autopilot, right? But it becomes a game, and it's a little bit more fun, right? So just keep that in mind, right? You don't want to be 2s. You don't want to be 1s at all. Get your life right, man. What are you doing? But that's why you're tuning in, right? Because you want to get this knowledge coming from some of the experts, man. Not me, the experts writing these books. All right, so we'll be back with the next chapter tomorrow. I'm going to holler at y'all.